Thank you, weird Zoom lady. Okay, welcome everyone to the database office hours. Andreas has the first point, but I don't think he's here. Yep, he's not here, so I'm just going to read it. We deprecated the use of GitLab database bulk insert in favor of leveraging new Rails insert all API. So going forward, we need to use the new concern. And it seems to be already documented, so yay. Okay, does anyone have a comment on it? No, very straightforward. Awesome, let's moving on. Okay, so Marius, who is also not in the call, is asking, is there any reason why we are not using byte A columns to store encrypted values? So right now they are store based as base 64 encoded values in text columns, and using the other type is going to reduce the storage size, making validations more predictable. Well, I don't see, is there like a reason? Perhaps it was just the decision when the table was created.
Back then we supported two databases, so there was not really a column that we could use. Also, the library at encrypted is really old. I think it haven't been updated in a while, and I'm not 100% sure it can handle byte value, but maybe for new tables we could consider it. Please do a trial.
So I guess we can change it, right? Like with no unforeseen consequence.
You mean change the existing table definition, or?
No, I mean yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, never mind.
I don't see if this issue has an upcoming new column or new table that where we would use this, but it would be interesting to see if it can actually handle the gem itself, this new column type.
Yeah, I'm okay. I guess we could give it a try. Okay, Adam, you have the next point.
Yeah, this is just a question. So I'm planning to update large volume of user records, and basically I have to unconfirm user accounts. And to unconfirm a user account, I would need to run the users in a loop. So I have to load them from the database, and I was looking for a way if I can actually bulk update records, and found this MD5 helper method in Postgres where you can just pass some kind of string, and it will give you kind of like a random, a string out, so you can use it as a verification token for device. And yeah, my question is that, do you see any issues using this? I would probably put also a timestamp column in the the argument list, and maybe the encrypted password, so you cannot really calculate it upfront. So it's kind of secure.
Adam, is it going to be unique among themselves, 100,000 records?
Yeah, because I will use the user ID column as part of the string I'm passing to MD5. So I'm hoping that it's not going to, there won't be any collision, although MD5 is probably not the best for this.
Yeah, Adam, ideally the hash functions risks collisions. And what you have to do is something called format preserving encryption or something like that. I had a gem which I built. You can copy the code there. It's open source. So basically, if you want to generate millions of unique codes, you can use a guaranteed technique which may give you which may ensure that it's like MD5 will not ensure it's, theoretically guaranteed that it's unique. So I was, before GitLab, I was generating a lot of promo codes for large FMCG companies. So they want to have like 1 million unique, small coupon codes and stuff like that. That's why I built that Ruby gem. So it's using, I don't know if you need to put it in the code of GitLab or you want to do it once, depending on.
Yeah, that's the thing. I could use device internal code to generate it, but I need to do it in batches, right? Because I don't want to update 100,000 users one by one. Normally, you don't want to do that because it's tons of updates. Actually, I have to save the record twice. It's kind of tricky. So that's why I was looking for a solution that can update. Let's say I have the start ID, the stop ID, and I can do a batch update.
So you have to have the only way to ensure uniqueness is to have a format preserving transformation from that start ID to that finish ID or that range, which is not a hash because hash can collide, but something which ensures it. So I don't suggest exactly my gem, but if you need further ideas, we can take it offline. I worked on that area a bit.
I might ping you on the MR
okay.
if I have something. Thanks.
So a long time ago, we also discussed like updating several records with distinct values and to try to avoid the thing of updating like one by one, because that is going to take some time. And Andreas mentioned that we could use some sort of throwing the data into a temporary table and then use that one to perform the batch update. But well, we haven't implemented that. As you can see, this opened like 8 months ago, but perhaps something that we can retake. And also regarding the usage of generating like a string, perhaps we should ask someone from the application security team to see if that is like sufficiently enough to guarantee an uniqueness.
Yeah, sure. I was also thinking about having some kind of sequence outside from the user ID that Postgres kind of provides uniqueness automatically, and I can just say, hey, give me the next sequence for the update.
Yeah, it also depends on if you want confidentiality or not. Like, do you want to be able to ensure that no one can go back to the IDs from that created? Depending on that, you can have different solutions.
Okay, I guess we can move on. So Khan, which he's also not here, so he said that he added himself as a database reviewer, but he haven't got a single MR2 review. I don't think he missed a step. It is probably because we have a lot of reviewers lately. Like, I think we have around 10 now.
I think we have 11 new.
Oh. So 11. So yeah, and given that trainees get more reviews than reviewers, that probably explains why. So I guess he just needs to be patient. He will get some reviews. Okay, and the next point is mine, and I am here. So I have been noticing that we keep adding more and more columns to namespaces, and namespaces, well, as we all know, is a high traffic table, and it is used a lot throughout our code base. And I think it is time for us to create namespaces settings as a one-on-one relationship with namespaces, which is basically the same as project settings and that we created some months ago. And I have outlined some steps of how to do it. So this is just basically an FYI. So if you want to take a look and propose perhaps a different solution, or if you want to work on it.
Should we block upcoming reviews that are trying to create, columns to namespaces table and point them to this issue?
Yeah, I think the first step is that we can add the namespaces table to our COP check. So RuboCop fails whenever someone is trying to add a column, and perhaps we can start a conversation like, hey, do you really need to add a column here? Perhaps you can create a different table, or perhaps it can go into a different table. But yeah, something to consider when reviewing. Okay, so Alper, you have the next point.
So sometimes I'm seeing some create tables which reference some tables, and I want to see if it's a busy table. I go to the documentation for with log retries. Adam has put there a list of busy tables, which is thanks for it. So how do we define a busy table? Like I have some other table, let's say a new one, and what is the best way to discover that a new table is a busy table? Not the size maybe, but also.
Yeah, that's a tricky question because size itself, it doesn't really, that's something, but that's not the only constraint, I would say. That's not the only rule. A small table that is often requested, like the GitLab subscription on gitlab.com, we could also consider that also a busy table, because basically almost every web request touches that table, and if we have a lock on it for a long period of time, then we will see problems in production. So for that initial list, that's based on past incidents where we had problems when we added new columns and tried to drop columns. Even doing some data migration, we had basically production incidents on those tables. So that's the main source. But to be honest, we haven't really written down the exact definition of what a busy table is. Yeah.
If you wish, we can make a definition like we can get the updated row and we can check like number of updates per minute or something, and then define a definition. Because in every MR I see a create table or drop table without a with log retries, or then I want to decide and there are many new tables upcoming, and
Yeah, maybe we could do some kind of extract some statistic from stat statements. So how many query this table gets per minute, and somehow have a formula with the table size, and magically we have a formula for this. Ideally, for the long term, but I'm not sure how to do it nicely. We could build this with log retry helper into our standard migration methods, what Rails provides, but there are some edge cases, so you cannot always do that. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think as a first step, we will need to have some rules written down, and probably this will be dynamic as GitLab database grows and we start using different parts of the database. Maybe a new feature really picks up and quickly becomes like a busy table.
Okay, I'll open an issue and ping you. And I will check. So if we have one metric and we apply it to the existing busy tables, then any new table which also falls in the range for similar to current busy tables, we may consider it as a, candidate for using with log retries or.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I know that this sometimes creates extra work for reviewers and also for authors, because normally you would think that, hey, I'm just adding a new column and everything is okay, and then the reviewer pings you that, hey, this needs to be prepped, and this extra basically ping pong is sometimes, I mean, can be annoying. I know.
Okay, then I guess we will just wait for the issue and start discussing there. Okay, well, Alper, you also have the next point.
My point is temporarily we are doing some telemetry reviews, and part of it is, checking some batch counters having query plans which are quite hard to meet. Like, so we plan to move the, that review, or we want to get rid of at some point of telemetry review and move that SQL query checking for usage data under the database team. What's the best way to do it? So I was thinking, first we may move, or I linked our documentation. We may move some parts of the documentation in our review checklist. And currently Alina and I am doing it. Alina, you are also a database reviewer, right? So at the end, not yet.
No, in version app. I'm added there, but not doing GitLab.
Yeah. First of all, does it make sense that finally there are queries which need to be optimized, and sometimes in an MR there's a database reviewer, backend reviewer, and we do a telemetry review, which is the same thing as the database review. So like in 3 months or so, when our hot season finishes, let's say, we want to move them, and I think a good way to do is just move some of our documentation into database review documentation, and in the checklist have there a nice, like, check the batch counter, query plans, which are harder. What do you think about this? I mean, generally, does it make sense to move it to database reviewers? And also, does it make sense to move some documentation into database documentation?
Well, I don't want to speak for all of the maintainers, but it makes sense to me because we are dealing with database queries basically, and this is something that we normally check when reviewing merge requests from database perspective. So I would be fine with it, but I don't know what everyone else thinks.
It seems natural. Yeah, why not? There are database queries. Yeah. The guides could be kept separate, but because they are telemetry guides. Am I right?
Yeah, we're gonna, actually in the telemetry guide, we don't need to have the query plan recommendations. The only reason we have is that, like, let's say in an MR, you add a simple counter, you put a scope, and suddenly it will guaranteed fail. And people are usually used to working with single record or like paginated 10 or 20 records, which works fine. But when you do a count or distinct count of 10 million or 500 million rows, it will fail. And that's not immediately seeable. So they are a bit more challenging than ordinary queries. It's challenging means it's hard to see for, like, you just had a simple line, count, and then you don't expect it to fail, but it's gonna fail, definitely. Okay, I will come up with some proposals, like in the MRs. So at this process, I think we can have discussions. I will ping all the maintainers and reviewers.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan. Okay, so does anyone else have something to add?
I'm adding a quick guide for new reviewers. I will send it your way. It's very simple. Just the main questions that we are asked, like how are you becoming a reviewer? What are you what you do? What are the most important things to check before starting reviewing? And some links, nothing more. So I will send it your way also.
Awesome. Alper, you were going to say something?
Yeah, you know, Ken, or he's Turkish, he's Can actually. Can, he had a question of, you know, adding him as a reviewer. I just checked the team YAML that, you know, he wrote there GitLab column reviewer database instead of everyone else having GitLab column and then new line reviewer database. Does
It's
make
okay.
sense?
No, it's okay in YAML because the other thing is an array, but if you have one entry, you can have it like that.
Yeah, I know from Ruby, but is the handling correct in the roulette? Alina?
Yeah, I had it like that before. So I had it like that before I added my maintainer status for version, I think, and it was working just fine. So I was
Okay.
only a reviewer for GitLab. So yeah.
Okay, I was checking the code for roulette, and I see that it's a parsing there that would look for category, and I was a bit concerned that could break that. But if you're saying it was working for you, then
Let me check. Maybe I'm mistaken. Let me check. Maybe I was too cautious and I had it as an array. Let me.
Yeah, I also remember such a case where initially some people in our greater growth team had in one line and that didn't work. Someone thought that didn't work, let's say, and then we moved it to a separate line.
Give me 1 minute to check how I had it before I added.
I mean, other things that I'm getting reviews, like I got 5 or so database reviews this week. It doesn't mean, I mean, still cannot get, so finally.
you're lucky.
Yeah. I think last 5 days or, you know, before a release, having new tables or database changes is a bit risky, actually. And I think that's also, some people do not want to rush, you know, to push new like tables and stuff to go into the self-managed release, which could be explain why people think it's lower than usual MRs.
Yeah, but I guess we will also have a lot of reviews because database reviews are triggered for finders and what is under leaf and for other stuff. So, I mean, we have a lot of reviews.
Yeah, I have it. I still have it in line, so I don't have it in an array format. So I have it in the same line, and it works.
Okay, great.
And you are also a reviewer or a trainee?
I'm a trainee reviewer.
You're both?
Maintainer. I'm a trainee maintainer for 2 different projects, and I have both projects in line.
Okay. Okay, so I guess he just needs to be patient.
Yeah, I can send him my reviews. I have no problem.
Yeah, I can also assign him some of my reviews.
Or he can become a trainee maintainer.
Okay. Well, if there is nothing else to add, Alper, were you gonna say something?
No, just.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining, and I will see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, Ali. Sorry.